Hello, welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you all for taking some time and joining us for how to optimize call monitoring, automate QA, and elevate customer experience. Presented by Customer Contact Central and sponsored by CallFinder and Working Solutions. I'm Tara, the webinar manager of Customer Contact Central, and I am really excited to bring you this brand new session with such well-earned insight into the future of call center efficiency and productivity. I'm really looking forward to hearing from Laura Noonan, Angie Kronlage, and April Wiita today, and what I'm sure is going to be a valuable conversation. And as a reminder, we will be recording this webinar in case you need to leave early, and we will be sending it to you by email within 48 hours. You can also visit the session's registration page after today's webinar to check out the recording there as well. And we're going to send that link in the chat box for you right now. Up next, before we go any further, I want to thank CallFinder and Working Solutions for sponsoring this webinar and helping us to make all of this happen. CallFinder provides speech analytics software to call centers across diverse industries to help them streamline their call review and QA processes. The solution empowers call centers to use data-driven insights to coach their agents and improve customer experience. CallFinder is the only speech analytics specialist that offers ongoing guidance and support from an assigned speech analyst. And Working Solutions is a recognized leader in scalable contact center services. Their experts know how to blend artificial intelligence for routine tasks with intelligent agents to solve complex issues for the best customer experiences. Fast and fluid, their virtual workforce of sales, service, and tech support are on demand for your brand. So thank you again to CallFinder and Working Solutions. Up next, let's go ahead and get a few technical things out of the way. Please don't hesitate to ask questions during today's event. You can do so by submitting your specific questions into the Q&A panel found on the toolbar at the bottom of this webinar window. Great questions help make a great webinar, so don't forget to stick around for our Q&A session near the end of the hour to get even more insights and advice from our panelists. The chat is also open for discussion and comments. It's highly encouraged. But if you do have a specific question, just know we'll refer to the Q&A panel for those so that they don't get lost. My wonderful colleague Tori will be fielding your questions today. She'll be happy to answer anything technical you might have. Feel free to pull up the Q&A or the chat, say hello, and let her know where you're joining us from. Also, closed captioning is available for this webinar. And to enable this feature, you can select the Show Captions option in the toolbar at the bottom of this window. And lastly, if you have any audio issues during today's presentation, you may choose to dial in by phone. All dial-in information can be found in your webinar confirmation email from Zoom. It is up on screen, and Tori can relay it to you at any point if you need it. Up next. Today, I am very excited to hear from Laura, Angie, and April. So without further ado, Laura, I will pass it off to you to kind of kick off our introductions here.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, Angie and April. I am so excited and grateful to be spending time with some of my favorite CX and contact center experts today. The focus will really be on hearing from the two of them and their best practices, having moved away from manual QA to automating call reviews with AI. Now, just a few quick things to share about myself. I'm a New Englander. I'm joining you today from Vermont. So I do enjoy all the outdoorsy things here like hiking, mountain biking, skiing. Professionally, I've been spending 30 years plus working with businesses across all sorts of different industries, from healthcare, education, retail, finance, home services. I lead the sales and marketing teams here. And one of the guiding principles that I really strongly relate to here at CallFinder is remaining client-centric and assuring customer success. So with that, I believe, April, we want to hear about you.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. I could say me too to some of the little bit about you and where, up north and all the outdoor things that we do. I am April Wiita. I'm the Vice President of Program Success here at Working Solutions. I live in northern Wisconsin, just a little ways from Lake Superior. So I too do all the fun outdoor things, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, time at Lake Superior, camping, and more. Aside from that, when I'm not having fun in the Northland, I have been in the contact industry, you guys, for 28 years, which I think is a coincidence that Working Solutions has been around for 28 years. I've been here for 15 of those 28 years, and I have the privilege to lead our operations team, serve as a partner and an advocate for our customer service outsourcing, customer success. And I've had the opportunity to team up with Laura and her team over the last year and a half. It's been a great partnership. So we're excited to share with you some of that success today. Answer any questions. So please don't be shy. Fill the panel, fill the comments with questions. We're here to make this very interactive, but very much looking forward to our time. And I'll hand it over to you, Angie.
Hi, thanks, April. My name is Angie Kronlage. I've been dedicated to contact center services for over 25 years and working for the last 16 years for Working Solutions. I am the Director of Program Success here at Working Solutions, working directly for April and with April on a daily basis. So I think it's funny that you are all snowshoeing and hiking and swimming in the Great Lakes. A fun fact about me, I'm a baseball fan, so I've been chasing my kids around to every ball field concession stand over the past decade and a half. And I guess I live a couple miles from the Field of Dreams, so it is required in this area that we follow baseball. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you all. We are so happy to have you here. Let's kick things off for everybody with a quick poll. I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll for everybody. It should pop right up on your screen. Does your QA team review calls manually? I'm going to give everyone just a few seconds to jump on and select an option here. I mean, I imagine, we'll see a big response, if you're attending this webinar, then I'm sure, you're looking to get something out of it that's relevant to you. So I imagine you probably are reviewing calls manually. Okay, let's share these results. Okay, can you three see those results on your screen?
It's very close to what my guess was going to be.
Yeah.
I think at least 75% was what I was expecting to see.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So we know where we're starting. All right, so I want to start by asking Laura, if you don't mind sharing some background here about what it looks like to switch from manual to automated call review and QA. Give us some details.
Absolutely. Yes, that is why we're here. So, and nice to have the poll results because many folks that are joining us today then understand that it takes a very long time to review calls manually. Even a single call generally takes 3 to 4 times as long as the call length itself. So a 5-minute call, looking at 15, 20 minutes to fully review it, score it, never mind coaching to it. And so needless to say, it's a very tedious process. And what that means is at best, typically supervisor teams can only really review, say, 1 to 2% of the monthly calls and interactions being handled in a contact center. And so what's on screen here is really visually depicting that, right? Of you've got all these interactions and there's this tiny little slice that you're seeing. So really, there's a transformation that happens when you move away from manual and you use technology and automate this, right? Because you're essentially the flip side, you're missing 98 to 99% of the data contained in all those interactions when you're just getting that little slice. So there's a real transformation that happens when a contact center makes that shift from the manual QA process to using CallFinder to analyze 100% of those interactions. And it really empowers contact center managers and team leads by providing them complete data and data about trends, and really ultimately also gives precious time back for the coaching and the leading of the teams. So that's really what we'll be spending a lot of time talking about today. And again, April and Angie are here to share a lot of specifics about what they've seen coming through this transformation. So before though we move into that, oops, sorry, I'm a little too clicky there. I wanted to just put things in a frame of reference about the coaching. You know, the coaching without data is really challenging, right? I mean, I think April and Angie would agree that just this little bit of information is really tough. And if you think about it in a sports context and coaching, you really truly do need a lot of data to make an impact on habits and trends and behaviors that are occurring time and time again. And if you think about, whether you've been in a team or you've coached, a team of athletes, and you're watching them practice and you're watching games, you don't really just look at a shot on goal or a drill one time and then that's it, and you coach to that one moment. You really need that full picture. So that's really what we're here to talk about, is the power of full data and trend data and how that empowers the contact center leaders and empowering them and leading their teams.
Thanks, Laura. Sorry, my mute
Sure.
button is stuck.
No problem.
My mute button was a little bit stuck there. Okay, so I'm looking at throwing up another poll here. I
Absolutely.
believe that's what we've got next. So, hearing from all of you, what is the number one frustration for anyone who has done manual QA? Is it too time consuming or painstakingly slow? The evaluations are random. Is that a frustration for you? The feedback you're getting, it's biased, it might be reactive, or you're not getting data on trends within the calls. Okay. Any guesses as to what might be the most popular response here, you guys?
All of the above.
I know, I should have put that one on here too.
I would say the time consuming piece of it, but honestly, all of them, I think fit into that. All of the above for me, but time consuming is probably the number one.
And feedback is really reactive. Okay, we heard this. Let's go talk about it.
Right, right. All right, let me go ahead and share these results.
Oh,
Right. So there we have it. Yes,
I'd love to win, Angie.
it is painstakingly slow. That seems to be the majority frustration here with this audience. Now, I am going to kind of shift over to you, Angie and April. And I want to ask you, how does the transformation from a manual to an automated QA process lead to that time savings and even cost savings? Any insights there?
Yeah. Go ahead, Angie. I know you've got some great examples in with some of your current clients on this one.
Yeah, I jotted down a few different examples related to saving time and money and resources, and as the slide states, all of the above. Since we've implemented automated quality, we are really able to anticipate the needs in our quality program. Seeing the trends, knowing where the issues lie before they really become a big issue, because we have 100% of those calls in our database, has been a game changer. We can quickly review outlier agents. We can review outlier trends, call problems, issues, and getting that coaching into our agents' hands, consolidated, taking into account 100% of those calls, has had a massive impact on our attrition. And that's probably where we've seen the biggest impact on cost and time and resources. We have seen a 5% improvement on our attrition each month, and that's very real. This comes from just having a better, more clear, concise coaching opportunities. We have a better understanding of trends and call issues. All of these help us to head off on the agent level poor quality habits before they're formed. And on the issue level, it helps us to understand what issues are out there, see the trends ahead of time, and again, head off those trends before they become a really big issue for us.
And
So improvement in our attrition has been big.
And Angie, you said something that kind of excited me. You said kind of a key couple of words. You said issue level, and taking a step even outside of the quality side of it. One of the time saving, but also really cost saving opportunities that we've seen comes not from quality, but from even a little bit of workforce management.
Yeah.
So you might come in the morning and you've got your real-time adherence team ready, you're fully staffed, you're no staffing gaps, volume is through the roof. And you're trying to identify quickly and proactively for your partner, why is volume 300% higher? And we can go in and use those insights. We can drill down to keywords, spotlight a keyword, listen to a handful of calls and say, 100% this is what's driving it. Out of the 4,000 calls this morning, 2,000 of them were coming from X. And you're able to, on the fly, quickly adjust staffing, get 2 steps ahead of where your client is at and share with them what's happening. So there's a lot of benefits even outside of the quality side that have been great for us in our environment where we're always up, we're on demand, and we're always that need to be fully staffed. So I think workforce management has been a good one. So just kind of going outside of the QA side a bit, Angie, since you said issue level, it prevents us from getting to some of those issues that can get bigger as the day goes and snowballs.
Yeah, you're so right. In the past, we had relied very heavily on voice of the agent or voice of the customer for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we would look to voice of the agent for, tell us what's going on today. We see that there's an extra 100 calls in queue here as we open the day. What's going on? While we may still have that connection because we will always have that connection, when an agent points us in the right direction or in a direction, we can easily grab that keyword and go into the system and say, okay, of those 100 calls that were queued this morning that we weren't expecting, 75 of them are related to this issue. So voice of the agent and voice of the customer tracking, and this is a big cost savings piece as well, that has become a little bit of a thing of the past. We might reach out to our agents to give us some, okay, tell me what's going on, or I'm live listening to calls and here's kind of what I hear going on, but I'm not 100% sure. Now we can go into insights and keyword searches and allow us in real time to figure out what's happening, get together with our client, create a plan of action, and we're moving. So yes, there may be cost savings on a lot of levels, but we are also able to improve revenue in some cases because we know what's happening. We're able to resolve those calls quickly, add staffing when needed. And again, that voice of the agent, voice of the customer becomes less of a critical factor and more of an indicative factor.
And Angie, you probably saw me laughing, and it wasn't at you. I just think about back in the day, right? When we do working with our partners, and they say, "Well, what are you guys hearing?" Well, let us just do a quick poll, and you'd go into the chat room. Now it's like while we're on the call, that's a great question. You can go in and pull that up and say, "This is what our agents are hearing, right? This is the voice of the agent. This is the voice of the customer. This is the word. This is what we're hearing. These are the trends." Saving again time, but also I like how quickly we're able to just answer it and address it. No polls needed to get
that. That is so true. Yeah. Yes, I had a couple other things written down when it comes to cost savings. On some of the level 1 calls, and you all know what your level 1 calls are in your centers. We had level 1 calls that could be answered or assisted with a low level interaction. It's a fast AHT. On those level 1 calls, we have put them 100% into an automated quality platform. We have calibrated our forms manually and automated to the point where we are comfortable putting them 100% into the platform. So that frees up all of those resources to focus on those level 2 calls or those more higher stakes calls. And that's where we have a higher impact. So while we may still have our resources available to us, we have less resources that are focused on those level 1 call types, those simpler call types, and they're really putting the time and energy where it means where the stakes are higher. And then also I had one more point. I hope I'm not taking too much time.
Angie loves saving
Go
time,
ahead,
money, and
Angie.
resources. This is why Angie has been with us for 16 years. She loves to save time, money, and maximize her resources. So she's passionate about this topic.
Oh, heck yeah. So, we can identify, I think I've said this a couple times, we're able to identify trends and areas of opportunity really fast. We have a very high stakes call type that is using the automated platform or an automated platform. And this call type has a 7.5-minute AHT. When we have to take a deep dive into that, into either a specific agent we know is struggling or a specific issue or trend, we are exhausting resources. We are taking a resource away for a half a day to listen to some calls and jot down ideas, put together a coaching plan. Right now, the platform does that for us. We can very simply find the line item or the agent that's having problems. We can look at 100% of the calls that are related to that issue or that agent. We can then find their longer calls or their shorter calls, and the coaching is right there. It's concise. It's all driven by AI. It's right there. It takes us minutes where it would take us hours in the past. So there's some real, hey, there's hours that we can show you savings on. And then there's more of the ancillary issues and ancillary items that we can show you savings on, like April pointed out, workforce management, voice of the customer, just so many different things that go along with this that we didn't anticipate when we first put it in place.
Perfect. Thank you guys. Thanks for the thought that you're taking here in these responses. Super helpful. Now, can you share some ways that an automated process and using database trends impacts coaching opportunities? Kind of switching gears here.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. So Angie, you mentioned a couple already on the coaching front, and I always try to think through how can we prevent it from even getting to a coaching, right? How can we preventatively be 2 steps ahead of that? So I always call this the twist with how we use it is we're able to go in before coaching opportunities even happen, going into the insights, looking at the trends, the outliers, teaming up. One of our philosophies at Working Solutions is we team up with our operations team and our education and development team. And we come together on, here's what we're starting to see bubble up a little bit. How can we get ahead of it? The team comes together. They'll proactively put out some ongoing education, some modules, some simulations that we can do proactively with our agents to kind of get ahead of it so we don't have coaching opportunities, but we know those coaching opportunities will exist. Angie, I know you highlighted on a few of them, so I'll let you kind of chime in on that, but I wanted to just highlight the twist, right? Is it's always trying to be 2 steps ahead. So whether it's from using those insights for staffing and workforce management, using them for proactive, ongoing, education, simulations, we're able to do that. And so I'll hand it over to you, Angie, for a few more that you mentioned outside of what you mentioned above earlier.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of this piece that has changed by using an automated platform. I mentioned before, we have kind of a high stake interaction that we like to highlight when we talk about the platform. In this interaction, it's vital that our agents are following a process and a procedure, and in some cases scripting. And having automated quality insights allows us to action really quickly. So when you have a high stake interaction, when it is vital that the agents are following a process, this becomes extremely important. There's also a lot of use cases where we just want to make sure the agents are doing the right thing, even if it's not a high stake interaction, and this platform becomes extremely important to us. So
something else too is, sorry, Angie, to jump in, but it's kind of cool when you have an education team and a development team that are saying, we need access, right? We want to make sure that when they're taking their first couple of calls and they're in Leap or in Salt with Working Solutions, which is kind of our little incubator or a hub after they go through the education process, they go in and start taking calls. They want to be able to go in, not only to listen to the calls, but be able to use the analytics, the insights, and the data and details to help guide them. So if they're within that incubator for the next 30 days, they can continually keep drilling down and driving those points home in areas of improvement that might be needed. So I think it's just really great to see that there's excitement, I think, around that, because it's a tool that all of our teams and departments have been able to leverage.
Yeah, and you mentioned insights. I think we've talked about insights a little bit.
I think we've talked about it so much. I've noticed questions popping up like, you're gonna have a lot, Laura, on what are insights, and then I'm getting a lot of, we want all of the above.
I'll let Laura answer in the Q&A session exactly what insights are, but to me, what insights means is we're using AI or the automated process to set up a report that shows me a very specific, a curated, real-time analysis of what's happening. So, so sometimes in scripting, it might be something like, does the agent connect with the customer on a kind of an I get it level? We can see specifically if an agent is using an I get it type statement. We can see a sentiment that relates to that interaction. We've got those scores. Sometimes when it comes to responsiveness, where there's an agent's voice that needs to reassure or calm that tension in a specific situation, we can, again, gauge the sentiment and the emotion of those specific calls. We can even hear or look for the I got you statement, or I'm here with you statement, or hey, I'm going to help you solve this statement. We've got those insights, or we can set that type of insight up. Legalities, I mentioned that high stakes call type that we like to reference. If there's a legality or a procedure concerning an agent's ability to follow a proper protocol, I can set up an insight to see that. So 100% of calls that relate to that legality, I put in keywords or topics that I want the insight to look for, and it's there, 100% of those calls. A lot of times we use it in security, demonstrating an agent's expertise in managing risks or protecting the customer privacy. Again, we can set up that insight. So once those insights are programmed, then I can see, again, the percent of positive impact or the percent of negative impact related to those insights. I can sort and I can view both sides of it. I can see all of the positive, all of the negatives. I can see my outliers. I can then coach to those calls. Talk time, silence on calls, anything we want, we can put in an insight. Aside from scorecards and all the sentiment and emotion, insights are probably my favorite part of having an automated platform.
You're getting everyone very engaged, Angie. There's lots of questions coming
Good.
through the chat panel.
Do you want me to answer those questions now or no?
I think we'll do them at the end, right? Are you guys? I think you're bundling them all up for us because there's a lot of them.
There are, which is terrific.
It's great.
Yeah.
You don't want a quiet group.
Yeah, I will bring those forward for you all in just a bit.
Okay, there's one more point that I want to mention on how things have changed before we move on from this topic. This is super important to me. So we talked about, how does it change our coaching opportunities? And I truly believe, and I say this because everyone is engaged right now, this is something that is often overlooked. An aspect of how automated quality can change your coaching opportunities really involves your staff. And it has become really apparent over the last year with us and how things have changed with our staff. We're leveling up our quality team. They're no longer call listeners and scorers and coaches. They're now analysts and data miners, and they're using that information to do really smart coaching. And so we have changed this work through the use of automated quality. And if there's one thing I want everyone to take away, especially how it changes your coaching, that's probably it. So now I'm done with the topic.
Thank you, Angie, and thank you, April. I do want to ask, at the end of the day, customer retention is one of the most important goals, I think, for probably everybody here. How does an automated QA approach really lead you to an enhanced customer experience, which, ultimately improves your customer retention?
Angie kind of left off on that, right? Or left off on that. So I'll lead off with it is the more we can level up our team and the stronger agent that we can build fits right along with what we're hoping to achieve. So you said it right when you kicked off in the introduction about working solutions. We're big on automation, we embrace AI, but we also build in IA, which is our intelligent agent. We believe that they continually get better, they get smarter, and they get stronger. And we're leveraging, instead of traditional coaching, it's next level, right? It's that proactive approach that we talked about. We're starting to see something right on the cusp. It's not a problem yet, but we're ahead of it. So we're building a smarter, stronger agent, as well as the team, as Angie mentioned, the coaching team as well. So I would say it just fits right along with that. We just continue to level up, getting smarter, getting stronger, and building and growing on our intelligent agent side. And then there's a few more, but I'll probably piggyback off of it. I don't want to steal your thunder, Angie, because I know this one is another one that you're passionate about.
Yeah, just like you.
I could go on. I'm like, I gotta pause because I got a lot.
Yes. Yeah, customers and callers, you know, I don't think they're really concerned with a QA score. They don't really care about that line item on a quality monitoring form, but they are concerned about, like April said, having an experienced agent answer their question on that first call. And while quality is definitely relative to a program or a call type, attrition is what speaks to me, and first call resolution is what speaks to our clients and our callers. And I mentioned it before, using automated quality, we have seen a 5% improvement in our attrition, and we have seen higher first call resolution rates ever since implementing. So we're saving money on both sides. We're avoiding adding a lot of attrition classes. We're building a stronger agent team, as April mentioned. We're building a better customer experience as a result of that. And that builds a long-term, better relationship with our clients. So our philosophy is really to engage those clients and have them take us with them into next jobs, you know, future positions. And we do believe that the solution is helping us to get there.
Yeah. And on the customer side, having that customer, satisfaction and retention, our model, right, is to be on demand, ever ready, 2 steps ahead at all times. And again, that has helped us do that with automation at all times.
That's so true.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At this point, Laura, I want to turn things back over to you for a minute. Can talk to us a little bit about implementation, integration. Is it easy? Is it awful? Is it fast? How give us everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love seeing all these questions. So I'm looking forward to being able to field some of those for folks. But absolutely, again, thanks again, Angie and April, you have so many insights and so many experiences to share. It's been really valuable to hear from my standpoint, and hopefully helpful here for everyone. So often when we talk about this new type, I mean, it's not brand new, but this new approach for many who are doing manual QA, often we're asked, how big of an undertaking is this to move from manual scoring and manually reviewing calls, try to collect a tiny bit of data, to automating it all with technology, right? And folks often liken it in their minds to, a very large scale project, something like on par with maybe bringing in an entire new CRM platform or something very, very large. And the welcome surprise is this is something you can step into as a new tool without burdening your IT team. It doesn't disrupt any existing systems. The way CallFinder brings the solution forward, we are not in the call flow. Everything we do is actually post-call, which means we derive all these analytics and pass them over to our clients from the call recordings themselves. So it's a simple overlay, and it is platform agnostic. So it's been designed to be able to ingest call recordings from a multitude of different telephony platforms, CCaaS platforms, the likes of, just to name a few, like a Five9 or a RingCentral, and we're agnostic. So because it is cloud hosted and lightweight in terms of client side, it really does coexist well in that day-to-day reality swarm of endless projects. Everyone we speak to at events or on these virtual calls, everyone's facing technology projects always. So the nice thing with CallFinder is it has been designed to coexist in that swarm. So this solution, this tool can be up and running in as quickly as 4 to 6 weeks. There's no IT burden. It's not a project where IT's got to find a place for it on the roadmap. And so that is, I don't know if Angie or April, you want to step in at all in your personal experience of working with CallFinder, because it can sometimes sound too good to be true for folks. They hear a software project and they think, yeah, you mean months, right? Not weeks, but it can be very fast.
We had specifically, we had a client that came in and we were able to turn it on for them rather quickly, right? So part of it was we're entering into our new partnership. We needed to have a solution like CallFinder. Picked up the phone, called Laura. It was a very aggressive timeline with I feel like a really complex need as well. It wasn't a one size fits all scorecard approach. A lot of uniqueness and what I felt was an aggressive timeline. And you guys were able to meet and even exceed in many of those milestones along the way where we needed to be. So for me, that was key because we make a commitment to our partners. Yes, we can deliver on that. And then we've got Laura and her team over here. So we were able to implement that rather quickly. The other thing I'd say is coming in as a newbie, if you will, to the CallFinder platform, I never felt like we were a number. So as we were kind of working through it and learning and kind of acclimating to it, there was no doing a help desk ticket, right? Or doing a ticket and I was number 131, right? Where I was going to need to wait for a response or an answer. We always had that lifeline with your team during the implementation process where we could quickly give responses back to our partner. We could get feedback from them, bring it back to the table, and even come together with our partner and the CallFinder team. So for me, ease is always important, but we've also got to move quickly. And in many times we've got to move at the speed of light. And you guys were able to do that for us.
Yeah, that's so true. I think we were worried at first about who's going to champion this from our company. And
I said Angie.
yes, and April said Angie. And immediately that, that who will champion this mission at our company kind of became less of a worry. Because of that side-by-side partnership that we had through implementation and that we still have today with our analysts. So we still meet once a week. We still have the opportunity to make changes. We still have the opportunity to change a line item on a scorecard or change how we score things, or, it's not a set it and forget it. Like April said, we've got that interaction with our analysts regularly.
And I don't want to take over on this piece too, but we say in our environment a lot because same thing, we're agnostic, right, Laura? And we take care of different clients and partners from sales to service and everything in between. And I say it often, we do not have a one size fits all approach to quality. It's what does our partner need? What's unique to them? And that's not going to be the same month over month, year over year. What worked for our partners a year ago might not get them there today. So that constant tweaking and meeting weekly still with your analysts to make changes along the way and keep that very flexible and fluid is a nice touch.
And I think we, a lot of times we have an analyst brain and a lot of times we have a creative brain. And I feel like our analyst was able to, Sam was the analyst that we work with. Sam was able to kind of sort through what our ideas were and say, this is a scorecard item. This is an insight. We can find this in sentiment and emotion and help us to sort through and make it work with automation. So if anything, I would say, as you think about this, you just really want to share with your analysts what you hope to gain from the experience overall. What are your goals? For us, it was taking lots of different call types and ensuring that every aspect was delivered by those agents and on every call. And the automation has really been the only way that allowed us to do that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think, it's to segue off of what you each said, we try to impress upon folks that when you take on speech analytics to automate this process, it is a living tool. I mean, and so the tool needs to be dynamic so that it can adapt to your ever-changing situations and needs and your clients' needs. And so the tool that's selected to go from, which again is very prevalent, that manual process, to automating it, it's really critical to select a tool and a vendor partner who is going to be customizable and treat it as a living tool and adaptive. And that is why CallFinder assigns an analyst, a speech analyst, to every single one of our clients, so that we share our expertise on speech analytics and how to translate your business objectives and rubrics and needs into the deliverables that you need to run your business and run your teams. We don't expect our clients to be experts on speech technology nuances. Like, that's fun for Sam as an example in our analyst team, but not necessarily what clients have bandwidth for. So, there is a lot of AI out there in the ecosystem and claims of speech analytics, but it is very important to be sure that the selected automated tool is one that is fully supported, and that there's a partnership there. And it's good to hear just your feedback, Angie and April, of how that really has been critical to how this success has come together for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Sam really helped us. It was hard to wrap our heads around going from a manual QA scorecard to an automated QA scorecard. So like I said, there's lots of different parts of the automated process, like the sentiment and emotion and the insights, but the scorecard is still a big part of what we do. And there were some things on the manual scorecard that we kept talking to Sam about, like, how are we going to be able to have the automation know if the agent checked a box in the system, where right now I can see them checking the box. I mark that as 100% on that QA scorecard line item. And he was able to give us ideas. So maybe we insert into our scripting, instead of seeing that the box was checked, the agent says, okay, sir, I've got you set up to receive that email. So we allow the system to hear that that box was checked. And so there were just a lot of situations I felt like that came up like that we didn't think our scorecard would fit into automation. And we were shown just a different way to do it. And in the long run, it made probably a better customer experience.
And just for sake of time, I know we kind of I think we've already talked about that whole analyst support now, just organically like bringing it up. But I think just from my personal experience and with individuals that I speak to in the industry and with some of our partners, that 80% plus, that what's holding you back and kind of while you're still doing manual QA, I do think that's a lot of it, right? Is that you feel like you're going to lose some of we know the tone and the true sentiment. We're subject matter experts, and yes, it's manual, but how can you get that in automation? It's just like AI. There's this big buzz about it, but there's still 70% probably that are still like, oh, we're dipping our toes in and we're getting started, because there is still that piece of you don't want to fully let go, and the need for the human is still so important. And that's what I think is so cool, and what you guys bring with the analyst support side of it is that piece of it. So I just wanted to add that in. I think that's probably one of the biggest areas that 80% plus bucket is still doing them manually today.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The AI does still need to be informed and directed, right? So
yeah,
the human touch and the human expertise is absolutely necessary and a critical component of what we do and how we support our clients. So yeah, absolutely. How are we doing on time, Tara?
Yeah, we're good on time. I know we have a lot of great questions that are coming in. So how are we feeling? Are we feeling like we're ready to wrap up? Is there any other points you guys want to throw out there before we dive in?
No, I think the only thing that I would say is, as we've talked through all of the highlights and the benefits and the examples from our world, is if you operate in a call center industry or any sort of outsource, or the kind of business that you have that is fast paced and ever changing, hopefully you guys gathered something from this along the way, where you got to let go a little bit, but you still get to have your voice. You still get to share as a subject matter expert what you need and how to drive that for your clients. And I think we'll probably get to that a little bit more on some of the questions that we answered too, but hopefully there was some good nuggets in there.
Thank you, all of you. So many good insights shared. Before we dive into our questions, I just want to remind everyone that now is the time to get straight from the source insights from our panelists. So don't forget to submit some questions in the Q&A panel if you have them. And additionally, we do understand if you need to run. Just know that today's session is being recorded and will be emailed to you within the next 48 hours. So keep an eye on your inbox for that. If for some reason we don't get to your question or your comment today, you can always follow up and connect with all of our panelists via the channels on screen, and they will be in the chat shortly for you as well. Okay, so with that, let's dive into some questions here. We have a great question that came in from Kate. And she says, curious for those contact centers with other channels like email, chat, etc., what they might be doing, for QA currently. Does something like CallFinder, an automated platform, provide omni-channel support in this case?
Great question. So specific to CallFinder, we have been pretty well focused on voice analytics, but we are offering chat text analytics. It's currently in beta for CallFinder. Certainly part of what folks can look for, depending on what their mix is of communications and what their current scoring practices are outside of voice. But for CallFinder specifically, it will be in a more robust omni-channel this year, and currently under beta specific to chat. But I don't know from April or Angie, your standpoint of like where you focus a lot of your coaching efforts on and QA efforts. How has that been evolving as of late?
Yeah, I mean, we do review all channels, digital channel interactions along with voice channel interactions. Voice probably has the biggest impact because it feels like it's the one that customers are most open to interpreting. So you like to have that record and like to be able to coach to what actually happened. Where you've got it in a digital interaction, there's a record. They can go back and reread. On the voice side, you've got to have tone and empathy right on because it's open to interpretation there.
That's interesting. And also to a degree, and this is some feedback I've received, like typically the voice interactions are a bit more complex and less straightforward and evolve versus, issues that are more well suited for chat are usually by definition a bit simpler, perhaps, and less need of that higher level of focus.
And more of your self-service client, customer that's going to come in and they want to be able to self-serve. They don't want to speak to someone. And email's really fading out, right? Like across with our clients, very, very few do even email interactions anymore. They're really pushing to automation and chat, bots, and voice for the more difficult interactions and that higher skilled agent. Great question.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you, guys. Kind of building off of that, Frankie has a great question. Is this something where you might use pre-built words and phrases to generate insights? I mean, what are these insights looking like for sentiment in that sense? Any thoughts there?
Sure, I'll get started and then Angie or April can chime in for their specific experiences. But essentially for CallFinder, we break into insights and kind of encompasses several things. It encompasses sentiment, which for CallFinder is the actual contextual meaning of the phrases and words spoken themselves. So the word sorry, for example, could potentially be empathetic or it could be apologetic. So it could have positive, neutral, or negative sentiment. So again, we're very much focused on customization. So for the CallFinder clients, sentiment is customized for their use case. Also within Insights is emotion, which is the actual tone of the voice itself, inflection, anger, happiness. So we track and report and analyze those separately, sentiment and emotion separately. As well as other insights you might have heard, maybe Angie mentioned earlier in terms of overtalk and silence and speaking time. So what Insights does is give you an all-in-one view of a lot of these different metrics. But in addition, it is also a dynamic, customized reporting tool that you can do on the fly to determine. So it's not necessarily dependent on pre-built terms. It can be whatever you want to search on at any given time. And if there's a particular topic or content you're concerned about, you also have the flexibility to build that into a scheduled report for yourself if you believe it's going to be an ongoing issue. So I know we're not doing a visual demo intentionally today, because each demo also we like to customize for prospective clients and make it really personal to them. So I know you're having to use your imaginations a little bit, but that is a bit of a broad strokes on all that's in insights. What did I miss, Angie or April? Anything?
I think you nailed it, right? That it's not a one size fits all. It will continually be unique based on your client's needs, expectations. Certain words are fabulous with some. Maybe it's, one of the words to avoid with another. So I love that it can be custom at all times.
Or that you can search on the absence of words too. We just recently had a client who did a search on just the basic fundamental of thank you for your business. We appreciate you trusting us with your business. Assumed that that was just always being done. They built a quick insight report, and lo and behold, it was under 15% of the time actually happening. So they needed to do a refresh on, what was expected behavior.
Saw that question pop up earlier too about tone and a few things, and how do you do that, and what is insights? I think you kind of covered that, Laura, right in that example as well for some of those other questions that were popping up earlier when we were meeting.
I can give some examples of some of the real insights that we have populated. Again, to April and Laura's point, you're building this for what's important to you. What do you want to see outside of your scorecard? What do you want to see in reporting? We have greeting and closing insights. Was the greeting used? Was the closing used? Was the call transferred insights? We have a call source insights, calls under a minute, calls over 15 minutes, calls where the customer is not on the line, calls where the customer doesn't speak or where our agent doesn't speak. So again, you can do anything. It's really the sky is the limit when it comes to what do you want to see in your call center? How do you want to gauge what is happening on every call?
Perfect. Yeah, that definitely hit some points and some other questions that we did get. Looks like we have time for maybe one or two more here. We have a great question coming in from Melody. Have you found that agents are any more or less receptive to coaching after using an automated platform versus a manual QA and manual reviews? Laura, I'll throw that one to you first.
Well, that is a common question that we hear, and I would say that, and I'll let April and Angie speak for themselves, but that is sometimes a concern for folks when they get started, and it can hold them back from launching this, or even just a little bit of concern as they are launching it. And what happens is the agents, in fact, embrace this, right? Because it changes everything quite a bit. And one of our clients said, look, it's really a paradigm shift. The old way is manual. It's very limited, right? And so it takes all of that out of the equation, because again, now you're getting every call scored the same way every single time, objectively across everyone's calls. So there's some great actually self-advocacy opportunities too, if a client so chooses, so that outside of just the insights, we also have the automated scorecards that we've been talking about. And so agents can receive their own individual scorecard for a particular date range, as well as more of an anonymized team overall scorecard. So they can see for themselves how they're progressing, where are their strengths, where are their weaknesses in their call handling practices, and then also in respect to the rest of the team. So it might seem like, gee, wow, how does this actually work to go and get all this information? But at the end of the day, the agents actually start to embrace it because they feel like it's almost more fair and more objective than the manual process.
Yeah, it takes
anything to add there?
Yeah, it takes out of the equation that you only listened to one call. I felt like I had 10 other calls this week that were really amazing.
You only heard that, we only heard that one bad call, or or
You found my one bad one. I only had that
Yeah.
one bad one and you found it.
and it's very consistent. And it also, I think from our perspective, it puts our agents in the driver's seat too for some of the self-serve success that they can go back and reference, and they see that consistency. And it helps us make really good informed decisions to help reward them for that strong performance too. Because we didn't also just hear that one good call, right? We heard 100 of their good calls. So a lot of goodness in there. You'd be surprised how well received it is.
I agree.
Thank you. And with that, that is just about all the time we have for today. I know there were a few other questions that we didn't get to, but please, again, feel free to follow up with all of our panelists after this session. I know they're more than happy to chat with you a bit more. I hope you all learned half as much as I did. Before we go, I'd like to encourage you to participate in the survey that will pop up in your browser after this webinar closes. Of course, we value your feedback, and this helps us continue to produce webinars that you find valuable, just like this one. Thanks again to our sponsors, CallFinder and Working Solutions, and a big special thank you to all of our incredible speakers for taking the time to answer some of our questions and provide us with such a valuable discussion today. Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks
Thanks
so
for
much.
having
Thanks so
us.
much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Angie. Thanks, April. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kate. Bye, all.
Bye.
Thank you to all of you for attending. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.